We're going to be starting in a few seconds.
Oh, you haven't started yet? You're liming?
We're just lining for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Winnie?
He's just trying to avoid talking
During the
about Trump.
Frankly Speaking show, you first need to open the video that is being streamed live. Look for the chat box on the side or bottom of the video player. This is where you can type your message. Click in socks and use your keyboard to type out what you want to say. You can type words, use emojis, or even ask questions. Once you've typed your message, press the enter key on your keyboard or
The capture of Nicolas Maduro, president of Venezuela, and the removal from his country to the US on Saturday, January 3, overshadowed everything in the world that happened for the last week and also reshaped our podcast agenda today, frankly speaking. Good day. Yet we will still focus on some important local issues, including the church and how it relates to the state. This arising from comments by Edward Warmington, government MP. Road deaths last year exceeded those of the year before. What is happening there? We'll speak with Dr. Lucien Jones, co-chair of the National Road Safety Council. Then we'll also try to look ahead and point to some issues that are likely to continue to bother Jamaica for 2026. It's a big, ambitious program, frankly speaking. So let's get started right away by welcoming guest commentator, columnist, and Catholic Peter Eskew, and medical Dr. Lucien Jones. Now, later on, we'll be joined by Evangelist Harold Ratchford. But let's welcome two regular contributors, Winnie Anderson Brown, and Desmond is about to join us in a while. Let me remind viewers and listeners that we welcome your comments and questions. You may send them as was outlined at the start of the show, or by adding them to the comment section of the podcast. Well, we want to start by going to, first of all, to Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones, what is happening with road deaths and road misery? And we are coming to you because you're going to leave us early. But what is happening with road deaths and road misery?
I wish I could answer you authoritatively. But the bottom line is that for far too long, two things have happened. As a nation, we have not paid as much attention to road fatalities as we have, and probably quite rightly so, paid to reducing murders and crime. But I keep on reminding people, nation, state, civil society, media, that road fatalities constitute the second leading cause of violent death in the country. And therefore, it recommends itself to having the same kind of priority given to it as murder and crime, which is now the talk of the town. That's one issue, the question of whether or not we have had a priority from the state and the country at large. And secondly, people in Jamaica for far too long have been very careless on our roads. And we need to find a way to stop them from speeding, to train motorcyclists who can't drive, and many of them are dying because they can't ride, and they don't have a license, they don't have an insurance, and they're not wearing a helmet. And the difference between this year and last year can be summed up in the police data. One that...
You mean 2025 and 2024 difference?
Right, the difference. Yeah. But I need to add a caution there, and I'll come to that in a second. This year, we had an increase in private motorcar passengers. We had an increase in private motorcar drivers who died, an increase in the number of pedestrians who died. There was no increase in the number of motorcyclists who died. In fact, there was a decrease. But the number of motorcyclists who are dying on our roads is by far the most important one as far as road users are concerned. 111 motorcyclists died last year compared to 122 the year before. So we're talking about comparisons on one hand, but we're talking about absolute numbers on the other hand. So the biggest problem we have in our country now as far as road deaths are concerned is the number of motorcyclists who are dying. It rose from a figure of 46 in 2008 when 295 people, that's the first time I went below 300, to 161 in 2018. So that tells you a tale about what has happened on the roads in recent times. If you can crack that particular problem, we can make a huge difference in the number of
Well,
people.
Dr. Jones, you said something there, about the motorcycle. Isn't it what you're talking about as a kind of lawlessness, a kind of inability of the police to take on and deal with that matter? Because the helmets you're talking about, the lack of wearing helmets, the fact that guys don't have licenses, the fact that they don't have insurance, isn't that a strictly policing matter? Because they're not hiding in space.
Well, you can't have a policeman in every corner. So it's a police matter in a sense in terms of enforcement. Yes.
Lucien, be fair. I drive on the roads every day. I am not stationary. And I would say more than half of the motorcyclists I see don't have helmets. And I'm not a detective. I don't think detecting motorcyclists without helmets requires any great detective ability. All it requires is a functioning pair of eyes. And it seems like the police are blind. Because I see them, I'm sure you see them, but every time you see a motorcyclist without a helmet, surely he should be stopped and the bike taken away until he gets a helmet.
That's the problem. Here, my good friend and pastor. Not every time the police try to stop a motorcyclist, he's going to obey. They ride away at speed, and you can't catch them. And you're not supposed to chase them, because if you chase them and they die, you're in trouble.
But they shoot down people for less than that,
No, they're not going to shoot them.
I mean, really and truly, you're making excuses for them,
No, I'm saying that the police, under normal circumstances, ought not to and will not shoot a motorcyclist if he's trying.
I'm being facetious there, but really and truly, you're really trying to tell me I can see police. I can see motorcyclists without helmets, and the police can't see them.
The police can see them, but there are two issues, and maybe three. One, it's not a priority for the police. That's one.
Well, so that's your answer.
No, that's not the only answer. That's
your answer. It's not a priority.
It is difficult for them to chase down and find them. And thirdly, is a whole lot of them. It's a huge number.
I don't know.
So, Dr. Jones, it seems to me that the police, it seems to most people that the police are not doing anything about it. They're
Put
not
me in charge of the traffic police and say, how quick I stop it.
Let me just give you one quick thing that they're saying. Apart from Peter pointing out that anybody can see them and they're out there and police could stop them. And you're right, police not supposed to drive them down. But there are some places where you can go, because many of them are in messengers, where a policeman can stand there, he can see 20 motorcycles, and he can see the guys walking to the motorcycles without helmet, no helmet or anything, and about to ride away. There must be a way that this thing that is in the face of people, causing so many lives every year, can be tackled. And there is a policeman who's in charge of them.
The Road Safety Council is not doing enough. I wonder who the chairman is. The real chairman. I'm talking about the figurehead vice chairman.
I don't think I'm a figurehead, and the chairman is the prime minister, as you well know.
Really?
Who is concerned more about Melissa and its devastating effects than road safety at this point in time. Given his due, in the period that he has been there, he has been holding meetings. But you
I wonder
can't.
what he did before October.
Well, that's a question that you may want to ask him. But let me get back to this thing about motorcyclists. Every station in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth is packed with seized motorcycles. The police seize them when they can find them and hold them. But what happens is that because the motorcyclists are relatively cheap, and these guys have access to money, you seize one today, and tomorrow morning they're driving a brand new one. It's not a simple problem, my pastor.
So Dr. Jones, you're not holding out any hope for the numbers to fall this year. What were the numbers again last year?
We are. Last year, 373 people died compared to 365 the year before. So a 9 total number increase. We have started a coalition, a national helmet wearing coalition. And we are determined that this coalition, given the kind of support it has now and will have in the future, will place a helmet on every motorcyclist and a certified helmet. Because we have two problems. One is they're not wearing helmets, and those who are wearing helmets, sometimes they're not certified. So that when they're meeting a crash, stuff happens. So
you're talking to an environmentalist, you know. We suffer from lack of enforcement in the environment. When you ask the government why they don't enforce, they say, oh, we are trying voluntary persuasion. And we don't want to really lock up anybody. You know, what we want to do is persuade them to do the right thing. We don't want to lock up anybody. And that's the same thing you people are trying. Voluntary persuasion. You give everybody a helmet and them still not wearing it. But that's all you're going to do. And we're going to let us come back next year, Franklin, and we'll see what the numbers are.
Dr. Jones, what else are you going to do significant that makes the numbers significantly different in 2026 than they were last year or the year before? And what in your mind, or in the mind of the council, I should say, is a tolerable level of road traffic deaths? It's a hard way to express it, but yes.
Well, the tolerable level as mandated by the World Health Organization is 0. There's no getting away from that. We don't want anybody to die on our roads. It's a movement that started out of Sweden. It's a movement which has informed the policy determination that drives the effectiveness of the National Road Safety Council, the safe systems approach, where we try to make sure that people drive at safe speeds, drive on safe roads, behave like safe road users, they do the right thing, drive in safe vehicles, and there's an efficient post-crash system. So
but what would make you feel, what number, what figure would make you feel that we have made some significant progress this year?
Okay, so here's the answer now. The World Health Organization has mandated that all countries should put in place measures to ensure that we have a 50% reduction
How much reduction? Sorry.
50%. During the decade 2020 to 2030. So the baseline will be 2018 when we had like 441 died. So we're looking to go like about 212, 220 for us to fulfill the mandates from the WHO. And to get back to your question of what next, if we can get the demerit point system working, which is not working now, and remove those drivers who are persistent in breaking the law, we can make a huge difference. It can come down, not like or more to come down. Because what the merit point system does is remove those drivers who get tickets and exceed, if you get like 13 points, you can have your license suspended for 6 months.
But is your council failing us in that regard, and Dr.
No, we're not responsible for it. The state. We're not responsible.
Who's responsible for it then?
Same people that blind.
The Minister of Transport and the Ministry of National Security.
Oh, they are responsible for.
They are responsible. Yes.
And what about cameras? Because we also talk about the great inconvenience that people see and the just lawlessness that people see.
Cameras are all going to the police on their planned operations.
Well, we have requested the use of cameras, with an argument to the Minister of National Security. And his position was that until you solve the technical issues, which has delayed the introduction of the merit point system, introducing cameras and send out tickets. It's just when they clock up the system. So he wants to have the demerit point system and the issues of surrounding that sorted out first. And I think we're making some progress. But I have written to the Prime Minister asking for a meeting. Hopefully he'll respond positively so we can have that matter sorted out. But
who do you say wants to get rid of deal with the demerit points first, deal with that system before the cameras?
The Minister of National Security, because they are in charge of the ticketing system.
Well, Dr. Jones, these lives are being lost every year. Great loss in productivity, great pain to families, and we're just going on like that and just coasting through it.
Well, I agree, that's why I'm on TV so regularly speaking about systems like the demerit point system. We are hopeful that the state is going to act and act decisively this year, because it's part of the Road Traffic Act. It needs to be rolled out. It has never been rolled out. And we kind of wonder what's causing the delay. And as far as we know, there are two issues. One is a policy issue that a decision needs to be made, and there are some technical issues which need to be sorted out. Hopefully we're making some progress, and we'll make further progress in 2026.
All right. So before you leave us, I don't know if any of my colleagues has a question, but I'd love to know what will be the focus of the Road Safety Council and all those various agencies which have something to do with road safety this year. What will be the focus?
The focus is threefold. One is to get the demerit point system rolled out. Number two is to...
Sorry, can you say that again, Dr. Jones?
One is to get the demerit point system working as part of the sanctions regime. Secondly, in terms of priority, is to get a training program where we train these young, inexperienced motorcyclists how to ride. And thirdly, when the funds are available, to, in association with the increased enforcement, to launch a public education program to encourage passengers to buckle up both in the front and in the back. There are many passengers who pay lip service to the whole matter of putting on your seatbelt in the back. They put on the seatbelt in the front, but most of them won't put on the seatbelt in the back. In fact, they believe it's not a requirement. So we have had to be educating them as far.
Dr. Jones,
yes,
I get the impression.
Yes,
good afternoon, sir. I get the impression that the authorities are not addressing the issues affecting the road traffic fatalities. In other words, for over a decade now, sir, because if you look at the numbers for the last 5 years or so, it is either 2,000 or over 2,000 deaths on the road. And the issue, you and I have spoken about this already, the issue of public education, that has not been addressed. And I fail to agree and that the funds are not available. As I have said before, when the government, any government, want to do something, they do it. They find money to do it, right? You see how Trump go and capture Maduro?
Desmond, you're going into a different territory, man. Let him answer and as he has to leave shortly.
Yeah, let me say something about the public education funds. For years, we have been getting money from the National Health Fund to conduct public education, and we have done so extensively. For the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, that funding has dried up. We get zero. We've been trying to get money from the ticketing system, a percentage, to be allocated to the National Road Safety Council. Last year, the Ministry of Transport successfully negotiated that the money come to them. So the money is not coming to us. So they are in charge of that fund. We don't have any say in it. We will apply like anybody else, but they have control of those funds.
So Dr. Jones, the council is unable to really make any impression on the policies and the programs and the practices for road safety and for what happens on the road, because you are saying to me you're depending on this, you're depending on funds coming out, you're depending on transport minister, security minister is waiting on the rollout of the
They need a more influential chairman.
There's nothing for you that you can really say that you must do, and therefore to be judged by it, Dr. Jones. Isn't that a fair comment?
That's a fair comment, yes. That's a fair comment. At this point in time.
Yeah.
That's a fair comment.
Oh, it's a hard road. 370, 373 last year. I know that you wait until late January to determine finally.
Final figure, yeah.
Last year it was what, 376, Dr. Jones?
Last year 374, the year before that 365.
Okay.
So
Dr. Jones, we'll give you the chance to make the final comments before you go.
Okay, so we are coming down from 487, 488, 425, 365. So this is the first year in the last 4 years that the numbers have increased. So there was a gradual decrease, and it's hard to say why. Part of it is that we have had a more public position in terms of, and I thank God for the media that has allowed us access to be able to speak directly to people. They have been a big help, and this is part of the whole media exposure. Because we really haven't had any funds to public education targeted.
Yeah.
And
it's a shame. That's really a shame given the numbers. But Dr. Jones, I've been trying to reach you before we got on to ask you whether you have any comments that you'd like to make with regard to Venezuela. If you have no comments, that's fine, because we never prepped you on that. We prepped you on road deaths in Jamaica. Are you disturbed by what has happened in Venezuela?
Very disturbed. And even more disturbed when I heard the discussion on RGR today that the possibility exists that they will move from Venezuela to Cuba. So the region is in a very dangerous time now. So of course everybody should be disturbed about what is happening. The question is what can you do about it, which is at this point in time very little.
All right. We want to thank Dr. Lucien Jones, medical doctor, who is co-chair of the National Road Safety Council, and he is going to be continuing to battle these authorities who have not really done much with regard to helping the country to contain and significantly reduce road deaths.
In recent times.
Thank you, Dr. Jones.
Okay, thank you very much. Good.
Peter Espew, I'd love to ask you before I ask Desmond, and we are going to be joined shortly by Evangelist Harold Ratchery. Oh, we have it, Mr. Ratchery. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Mr. Ratchery.
Thank you for having me, and let me take time to just say hi to all of you on and to wish for your 2026. That is
not hearing a word.
Not hearing him. I'm hearing him.
I'm hearing too.
All right. Okay, so Peter, adjust yourself, Peter. Peter, I'm trying to just ask you, how do you feel about the Venezuela situation? Are you disturbed by it?
Yes. There are different things that disturb. Were I an American, I would be disturbed because, you have a executive branch and you have a legislative branch, and the legislative branch is supposed to give the authority for this sort of intervention, and they were not consulted. So we are moving from democracy to autocracy.
No, but in the last several interventions, they were not consulting. And as you heard Marco Rubio say, this is not something you can talk to Congress. It's going to leak.
He can say that, but that doesn't make it right. I don't agree with Rubio. The executive branch is not a dictatorship. The laws of the United States require Congress to authorize this sort of thing. But that's one response. The other response, I mean, I hear people saying that this is unprecedented. This is not unprecedented. We are old enough to remember Noriega.
Yeah, that's about 40
and how
years
he
ago.
was removed. And you're talking about the elected leaders. I also remember Salvador Allende, who was deposed. He was the legally elected leader of his country, and the CIA worked towards his overthrow. So
He was assassinated.
indeed, overthrow and assassination. He died with a M16 in his hand, or maybe it was a Uzi, I don't know what. But the fact is that nothing much has changed in the last 40, 50 years as far as the US is concerned. They are prepared to use their might to have their way. The question is, what is the way that they wanted to have here? Was it really because of Maduro as a narco-terrorist, or is it really the oil?
Well, when you listen to the press conference yesterday, you
heard it.
You left pretty sure that it's about the oil. It's
absolutely
about.
The narco-terrorism is a ruse, a facade, and so you know, and of course, Trump's line is that they stole America's oil. The next thing is going to be that they stole America's bauxite. You know, all sorts of rationale can be used to invade a country. Next thing you hear, they're going to invade us because of the bauxite levy that took away their money.
Well, that is way out of left field.
So?
The Hawks are now suggesting that it could be Cuba next.
But the nationalization of the oil industry in Venezuela was before our thing with the bauxite.
That's right.
So yeah. I don't think the horse has got at all. We're just not important enough.
Desmond, you have some comments. I'm going to ask Evangelist Ratchery whether he was disturbed by it. But go ahead, Desmond.
Well, America has continued with its imperial domination of the region, and one of the things that I would like to draw my listeners' attention to is that now, as it stands, America is making it clear to the West that this part of the world belongs to America. And as you know, they have invaded and assassinated several presidents in the Latin American Caribbean region over the last 50 years. So what we saw on Saturday is a continuation of American imperial power led by Donald Trump and his surrogates. Now, it is left to be seen how the region is going to respond. I'm still awaiting on CARICOM. I know we don't have any military.
CARICOM issued a statement on Saturday, which was a statement neither here nor there. And essentially also said it was watching developments. But you don't expect anything significant from CARICOM?
No, I don't, because remember, the region is not in a position to respond to America, because we, as you know, America considers us to be in his backyard, and we are dependent on the Americans, and therefore, yes, I expect that we are just going to stand by as idle spectators and watch the Americans trample on human rights and kill people.
Mr. Ratchery, Evangelist, do you have any comments on it? Are you disturbed by the events in Venezuela?
Just say it's an unfortunate development in the world, and what has taken place in Venezuela. It seemed like could take place in a Cuba, could take place in a Colombia, it could take place in Jamaica, where a person can be just taken out of their country. And so for me, it's a very unfortunate development. What I'm really thinking that as the months going up the midterm, I'm watching the development. I leadership and world leadership and what's happening in the biblical sphere is something I'm very, very concerned about. And there are certain things that will happen that should not happen, and we'll see more of this. So, my asking me if I'm concerned, very much so. I
Or
am
do you buy Desmond's position that we're so weak and dependent that you're not going to really get anything out of this region here? Weak and very dependent.
When Mandela went to prison, there are certain persons who felt that that would be the end of it. Jamaica rise up, and out of Jamaica, the music world, and those who were spokesmen, it made a difference to what took place with the reliefs of Mandela. I feel that Jamaica, and I say it here and overseas, that Jamaica is a little dot, but it's carry a lot of power. We have the largest in terms of music, in terms of our sports, in terms of the spiritual dimension. When combined, um, make a world of a difference. If you notice how many persons when Melissa was coming, everybody want to come to Jamaica just to see what is happening. I feel Jamaica in this situation as a part of Caribbean must, their voice must be heard. I have never
But I would
believed
like
that.
Right, Desmond.
I would like to remind the pastor about something when it spoke about how Jamaica responded to Mandela's imprisonment. Leadership is a key factor in all of this. Now, you must remember that in the past we had leaders in the CARICOM region who stood out, who were not afraid to take the lead and to make their positions known. Dr. Eric Williams, Errol Barrow, Forbes Burnham, Michael Manley. That caliber of leadership is not in the Caribbean today. And as I said, if you have been watching how the CARICOM has responded to these affairs, what has been CARICOM's response to the massacre in Gaza? What has been CARICOM's response to all other international events
All right, Desmond, we're
affecting the
going to move
lives
on
of
because
people?
you're going down. We're going to move on. I want to go to Mr. Ratchery. I can't get to go back to that because time is running against us. But I've got to ask you, one of the main issues we wanted to take up today is the church and the state. And specifically, to be a little narrower, whether the church has any right to any money from government to fix church buildings, etc. The Prime Minister has offered $75 million. As you know, MP Everett Warmington suggested something else. Errol Ratchery from Errol Ratchery Evangelistic Association is the man we're talking to. I don't think I introduced him properly at the start. Evangelist, can you respond to that, Mr. Warmington's comments, and and I don't know if your church is part of the offer the money and if you got any of it yet?
Can I take time just to acknowledge my friend, classmate from Glenmuir?
Sorry. Say that again, Evangelist.
I said, let me take the time just to acknowledge my friend from Glenmuir High School. I'm told it's one of the better schools in the nation. And to acknowledge all the other persons who and so Lady Winnie, blessings on you. As it relates to the question you have asked about the church, I want to go on record to say that the church has played a most pivotal role in this nation. It is a church that brought education into Jamaica. It is a church that fought against slavery. And through this church, we have the abolitionists.
Fought against slavery.
let me complete, and then you could ask the question. And then I want to indicate that the church plays a most pivotal role in terms of bringing hope to person through the counseling that they do, through the whole question of its social outreach programs, in terms of a number of persons would not maybe realize, because the church kind of play a thing, you don't let the left one know what the right and do sometimes.
So you're saying the church is deserving. That's what you're saying,
Yeah,
Evangelist?
and I'm going to say why it is. And I'm going to say why it is. And it's the church, in terms of the amount of schools that we have across Jamaica on its properties, in terms of a Calabar, a Merle Grove, as
we don't have the whole afternoon in Evangelist. That's why I'm rushing a little bit. For you
yeah,
to,
but if you allow me, if you invite me on the program, then you have to allow me some
yes,
some
ma'am.
limits.
Please,
So
but
if
just
I
make
can,
the point.
if I can,
We have
if
many
I can,
points on this. Yes, go ahead.
if I can do that. So I'm saying that the church, in terms of what it has done, in terms of the history of it, for those who know it, would realize the important role it plays in the life of family. And so one asks a question, the church didn't ask the government for the money. I think the church saw the government saw the importance of it. And I've
So
heard
you said the churches did not ask. Is that what you're saying?
the church did not ask.
Okay.
And the government, in its wisdom, decided to, having seen what took place across the nation, decide to make funds available to the church in terms of to assist. And for me, it is to assist, not necessarily in repair building, but to repair the persons who are part of church across the nation. One thing on record, I've heard a person talk about taxpayers' money. And just to say, members of churches are taxpayers. And I'm not certain if it's the taxpayers' money that government, because I haven't had discussion with the Prime Minister or those who made the decision, or it is the funds that have come from abroad that has been distributed in order to help to develop the buildings of the church. Interestingly, our churches are used for specific functions that persons who are non-Christians and government that have used.
All right. So Evangelist, I just have to break it there, because you have made the point that the churches deserve, have played a significant role historically in the country, and they deserve the support. They didn't ask for the support, and we're taking it from there, because we need to keep the discussion rolling over. I'm going to ask Winnie to make mention of some of the comments that have come in, Evangelist. They're not comments specifically to the church, but there are comments that come in. And then after that, we're going to go to Deacon Espew to ask him whether he shared your sentiments from his church. Winnie, go ahead, please.
Yes, this one is from, this comment is about road safety. It says road safety will always be a concern until money stops being a factor in enforcement and procurement of
licenses, buying licenses. I suspect it.
Yes. And someone is agreeing, Edward Owen is agreeing with Evangelist Rattray, saying yes, Reverend Evangelist Rattray. Yes. And here's another. This is running across my screen. Sorry. My screen. Okay.
Okay, let me take it for you quickly.
Go ahead.
Can you see?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi there.
Take it.
What I think is, and this is from Keith P., what I think may now happen, Putin, who is Trump's friend, will not let up on Ukraine, and China will now attack Taiwan. Don't be surprised if they trouble Trinidad and Trump also attacks Nigeria. He's looking at the Venezuelan issue. All right.
Yeah.
Reverend Peter Espew, your comments in response.
I'm not hearing very well. I hope you're hearing me.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes.
But first of all, I think I hope Evangelist Ratri is right that nobody asked for it, because I don't think it would have been appropriate for the church to ask. Certainly, my own church has not asked for any funds, not because we have the money, but because we don't prioritize building back churches. We prioritize building back our schools. And we have said, or we have had internal discussions, and I believe what we have said is known, that if it's a choice between building back our schools and building back our churches, there's no choice. We're going to build back the schools, because we can hold our services in the schools. Of course, it is also true that we can hold schools in the church, but I think the priority that we have established for the Catholic Church is that we are going to prefer to build back our schools before we build back the churches. So I'm interested to know, indeed, whether anybody has asked for the money. Certainly, as I say, I'm also a member of the Jamaica Council of Churches. I represent one of the representatives of the Catholic Church on the JCC. We had a meeting recently. I have not heard the JCC making any request to the government for money. So if the government, out of the kindness of its heart, is reaching out to give money to the church, I would want to know why. I mean, is it that the government wishes the church to I don't want to say buy out the church, but to try and get the church on its side? Certainly, that's not going to work as far as the JCC is concerned. But maybe there are people who would prefer to have their churches built back. We certainly will prefer to have our schools built back, and we'll be happy to take money to build back our schools.
Right, beautiful. Evangelist, give
Yes.
us your take now on what your church. Desmond is going to ask you a question before.
Hold on, Evangelist. You raise a point earlier on about the church fighting against slavery. One of the things that you must remember, that the church was one of the institutions that endorsed slavery, and slavery remains one of the greatest acts of humanitarian punishment ever against black people. So the sufferings that black people are facing right now, including the destruction that Melissa did to properties in Jamaica, is a result of slavery. Because it's poor. The majority of black people in Jamaica are poor people. So when the church fought against slavery, would you tell me when that took place?
But you're not asking a fair question, Desmond, because Evangelistic Ratri's church was not around at the time of slavery. He's a new church that just started the other day.
No, man, not new. I'm in the Baptist, and the Baptists are in the forefront of the fight against slavery in this nation. So I will refer you back to history in the interest of time, my brother Desmond. But if I could say, though, in terms of Melissa and what it has done because the history books are there, and so that's why I refer you to the history. And so, in terms of the church and the like you, Eswood, I'm an executive member of the Jamaica Evangelical Alliance, which is a part of the Jamaica umbrella group of churches, which have JCC, the Apostolic Full Gospel. It represents 90% of the people in the Christian community in Jamaica. And I am pleased to know that the church, when the Black River was get hit with the hospital, and the first field hospital that came to Jamaica came through the church, Samaritan Purse, through Billy Graham, Franklin Graham. The church right now is playing such an important role. When it comes to the church, I can't talk about the church.
You mean the notorious Billy Graham?
And talk about the church. I'm just stating a fact in terms of what has happened in the Melissa situation. That when the government and the hospital, there are persons who rally, and the church now, in terms of mobilizing overseas, adopting homes, churches are paying in terms of persons who have lost their jobs. And if they, maybe we need to talk, it need more than this program, to talk about what the church is doing. I am proud to be a part of the Christian church in this country. in terms of what it is presently doing, mobilizing. I salute those who are playing their part. And I've gone on record to say, as the chairman of the National Prayer Vigil of Jamaica, that persons who sing the national anthem, Jamaica Land We Love, and they're in a position to help in terms of they're more fortunate than those who have been broken down and beaten and battered. If they are not, if they're just talkers, some people talk and profilers, but if they are not putting their money where their mouth is, and they're saying that I love Jamaica and I am going to make a difference. I've done 6 across this nation so far, mobilized and still mobilized. And if they just talk,
Evangelist, is there a specific? I'm sorry, it's we have to move on. Is there a specific thing that the Evangelical Association that you mentioned and so on has been doing with regard to the victims of Hurricane Melissa? Is there a specific set of programs that your church has?
Yeah, they have done
or different ones just do what they
There are many churches that are under the Evangelical Alliance, a number of churches. And so what we have done is that they have not only been given out what we call relief item, description plan. We are talking about counseling, talking about going there and helping person in terms of the wellness, the mental aspect of it, the educational part of it. I've been there in terms of
and how you feel about the overall way that Jamaica has been attending to this issue?
I believe at this point now we need to move from what I call relief to restoration. It is that there are people whose houses are still out there, the houses are gone. Some people have to be living in kitchen and have to be catching. You notice what happened in Westmoreland where the people said they are not coming out of the school because they don't have anywhere to take their family.
Petersfield, yes.
Petersfield. So the church, and I agree with Reverend Espute, have to be, the schools can be used for more than just, and I go beyond just the rebuilding of a school. I'm talking about the rebuilding of the people's life now. So there's a building of the church, there's a building of the school, but there's the building of their people's life. And I feel as though one of the things we're about to do now is to mobilize skilled persons who are across Jamaica in our churches, carpenters, painters, plumbers, you name them, and to have work days and to make sure we stick to standard, but that we are going to build back this country. And Jamaica is going to come back better than what it was. Melissa is just a test for us. And the church of the Lord.
You think that there are people who are sharing that view, evangelists? Yes, sharing the view of pulling the carpenters, the skilled people, and building back?
Yes, and I'm saying no, I am promoting that, and there are other persons who are. And the church is the church is going to be such a thing in this Jamaica that we'll all 75 million is no money compared to what is going to happen. I thought it was $750 million that might have been floated, but it's 75 is nothing much when it comes to rebuilding. And so the church is going
to. How do you feel about how the progress has gone on before? I know well, you are still based in Kingston, so Kingston didn't get really affected.
No, seriously. I'm based in Kingston, but I'm spread across the nation.
Yeah, no, I was asking. Yes, Pastor, I understand. I was just asking Peter's view. What's his view of what's happening? Peter?
No, I have been to Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth myself on church business, looking at the damage. And our churches and schools have been badly damaged. We have been providing relief supplies to people. Food for the poor, which is associated with us, is also helping. So I think that the church is doing its part. I as I say, I was a little taken back when I heard the Prime Minister making this offer to build back churches. We didn't ask for it. So he's trying to pull somebody's tongue, is what I say.
Well, just to say if that is a plan, the church is not for sale. And if it's a plan that I have said in another setting, that we have to be like the men of Issachar, who understand times and season and know how to walk in it. There's one thing to understand the time, there's another thing to understand the season, but there's a totally different thing how you navigate. And I think this is the time that the church is going to lead the way in this country to help the government navigate. And for persons who are skeptical, to see that there's a power
What
behind
leads you to
people.
believe that, though, that the church is going to? What leads you to believe that, Evangelist?
I'm going to say this to you. When World Cup cricket was coming to Jamaica, and there was a big fight between the PNP and the JLP that they don't have the money to fix it, God moved me to mobilize 10,000 Christians across this corporate area in order to clean up the city. They acknowledged that in the parliament. I told him that the power of the church must never be underestimated. One denomination gave their part 4,000 persons to that 10,000 drive. I'm saying that the mobilization of people, our greatest resource is people. And if we can mobilize the people in terms of their skills, and
You're still not telling me what leads you to be so strong of a view, because there are not a lot of.
I'm saying
the numbers of people active in churches now is not a huge number.
I'm saying we're very large. Contrary to what is being said, it's very large. And people might be saying decline, but you must remember with technology is what is driving a number of people. Look at the views on it. Look at the people who are starting. If you put those within the confine of it, walls of a church and technology, it is more than what it was before. So
all right, Winnie, we're going to ask you to, if you can, Winnie, pick up those questions. We're going to move on after with
Leon Bailey says it is very unfortunate in the way people are responding to the Prime Minister's offer to the church, because my church would do well with even $1 million right now. That's Leon Bailey, and that's a only new comment.
Bishop, Evangelist, one of the things you did not say is whether you think that the churches need the money for. You said that they don't know that they asked for it. But do the churches need the money, or can they, or should they, as Mr. Warmington suggested, go to their bank and borrow it if they don't? They have lots of property, etc.
All right. You heard one person just ask that they might, because churches are large church, medium-sized, small church. There are some small churches that might need it. There are other churches that have the capacity. And I am more for the money that has been given to the church, which was not asked for, to use to build the lives of the people within the church, and not the church serves a community. The church is the world's hospital. It refuses nobody. And so when the church is given fund, it is not only used for the Christians, but those, whether they are Rastas or whether they are whatever, and to help in assisting. I went
community building.
We are in community building. I went to
one. I'm going to go around the table now and ask, in looking at 2026, what are our concerns? Winnie, we're going to start with you. What are our concerns? What are the things that you would like to see addressed? Start with Winnie, and then we're going to go to Desmond and Peter.
Okay, Winnie? Franklin, I go back to the vexed issue of the life certificates. 7 life certificates for a year. I call that oppressive, and it is time that the RGD, the Registrar General Department, the Accountant General Department, and the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, in this technological age, it's time for them to know the people who are dead from those who are alive and change that system now. And the final thing I'd say is that I wish that legislators would change the mentality that they have by making it easy for wrongdoers, and the laws are oppressive for law-abiding people. Law-abiding people are the only ones that obey laws.
Okay. All right, Desmond?
Well, I sincerely hope that the government will find it possible to initiate a wide-scale land reform program so as to make land accessible to Black people in Jamaica. I also would like for the police, first of all, I appreciate the reduction in murders, but for this year, I would like the police to revisit whatever program they are operating now, and reduce the number of police killings this year.
Okay. Peter's view?
I think that Hurricane Melissa has shown that we have a problem
The what minister?
mobilizing the country.
The what minister?
I'm sorry?
What, no, you said what minister?
I said Hurricane Melissa has shown.
Who's the hurricane minister?
Melissa,
Hurricane
Franklin.
Melissa.
He heard me, he heard me.
sorry.
I'm giving him time.
Sorry.
We have a problem with centralization. The response to the hurricane is centered in Kingston. God forbid that Kingston was hit. Then there would be no, the headless country would have not been able to respond to a disaster anywhere. We need to have a different governance framework in the country. We need to consider how we're going to decentralize, which is going to mean putting more responsibility in the hands of the parish councils. And this brings us to the question of constitutional reform. The government doesn't seem to like to consult. They like to tell us what they want to do and call it consultation. But I think we've got to try and mobilize the country this year to come forward with a different way to govern Jamaica than the way that the English gave us at independence. We need to find a way to have it more participatory and less dictatorial. We're going in the wrong direction. We're going towards autocracy rather than participatory democracy. So that's my wish for 2026.
Ideas. Great. Evangelist?
Mine is that we have to go back to basics. And that one, decency. The whole question of being your brother's keeper, and within the context of that, the Melissa experience will cause us to come back together regardless of who we are, regardless of whether we are from the same denomination or the same district or from different culture. We need to bind together in an effort in order to make this country a better, a safer place. You ask what is my concern. My concern is that if we don't get to the place where we unite, then Melissa experience could be the worst experience for us. But if we get to the place where we unite and mobilize, and we be our brother's keeper, and the honesty and the integrity plays central role in all of this, then Jamaica is going to be the gem of the Caribbean and the talking place of the world. That's
Thank you, Evangelist.
For Jamaica.
Thank you, Evangelist. I have to put a comment which is going to partly share Peter's position. And it's about, not so much about decentralization, but it's about the failure of the various local government authorities to make a difference to their communities. Peter, when you're asking for more responsibility for them, they have a lot of responsibility already, but they are not discharging it. The dirty state of Jamaica, the chaotic state of the rural towns, the disorganization of those spaces indicates that we need something significantly different about Jamaica. And I wish that we could have the Ministry of Local Government taking on the disorder and the terrible state of living that people experience, which also makes them feel so low right across this country, which is dirty, which is chaotic in the communities, especially in the rural areas. And I hope that we could do something about that. I want to just make a quick mention of a comment which came in as we wrap up. Please, all of you, try to reduce crime on the citizens of Jamaica. Then the police won't have any statistics on gunmen. Before we go, I've got to make mention, can't finish without us mentioning the passing of two outstanding members of the media, Alma McKnight and Donald Oliver, who passed this past week. Alma McKnight was a brilliant teacher and communicator and trained many radio personalities. Donald Oliver was a competent sportscaster. with a great voice and helped many to think. May their soul rest in peace. That's our show for today. Thanks to our guests, Peter Eskew, Dr. Lucien Jones, and Evangelist Terrell Ratcliffe. Thanks to my colleagues, Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson Brown, and the graphic artist and producer, Joshua Black. Our thanks to you, our viewers and listeners. Remember, you may watch this podcast again at any time on YouTube. Please share it and subscribe to the Frankly Speaking Jamaica YouTube channel. On behalf of all of us, I'm Frankly McKnight. Until then.